Is Assassin's Creed finally back to its golden era? Can Ubisoft recapture the nostalgia of playing Ezio and picking up those assassin robes for the first time? Well, it's a little bit more of a deep discussion than that. What Ubisoft has created with Mirage is what I believe is a step in the right direction, but a far cry from what I'd have hoped for. The introduction of the game leads itself into some early flaws. It was immediately clear to me that the base systems didn't receive the overhauls that I believed this game deserved. It is very much built on the systems of Valhalla, without the same approach that Ubisoft had with Valhalla. The approach of Mirage was intended to be a return to the franchise, a love letter to the older players, but without the full commitment, Mirage never feels to fully find its footing. This is somewhat expected, as Mirage did start as a DLC before being spun into a full standalone game. This doesn't mean Mirage is bad. It has a lot of charm, and this is where we need to really break things down. The thing is, early on, it only took me one fight to realize that the combat was floaty. Let me see. Yes, sir. Okay, that's okay. First impression though, it's not very weighty though. Bro, I literally just slapped his ass. Dude, I literally just went, I literally went, he just fell over. What the fuck? This was a huge disappointment, as some of the more flashy and weighted combat is something that I appreciated from the previous games. I mean, Assassin's Creed 3 was released in 2012, and this is what we got in terms of feeling like a badass assassin. It was overall just a much more grounded and sleek feeling experience. I really do wish Ubisoft re-envisioned the combat to make it something a lot more enjoyable, something with more substance. Parrying is a clear, large window where my blade rarely ever actually parries, and the presence of an invisible hitbox bubble is more than obvious. While I swing my sword, the enemies don't even react as it slashes through their chest. It just all feels so weightless. Now, I must preface that all the gameplay that you're watching is played on the hard difficulty, which I later realized made it so that I can't one parry, one shot the enemies, leading me to suffer more with the hack and slash portion of the game. Now, there is one thing I do understand, as it's prevalent in this game on the medium or easy mode, that the old combat system used to be too easy. Parry, one shot, parry, one shot. However, we're lucky enough to have amazing games like Ghost of Tsushima, which shows that parrying and flashy based combat can have a lot of challenge if you simply decide to get creative with things. A level of immersion where the player can feel themselves mastering the art of fighting while getting the satisfaction of pulling off something visually stunning. That's not to say that some of the Mirage finishers aren't there. The ones that you do pull off have a little taste of the past, and they do give you that hint of satisfaction, but there's simply not enough variety to keep it from going dull quickly. Now, sadly, it does get worse because we gotta account for the fact that there are a lack of weapon options. While we used to wield maces, axes, spears, and blades, in Mirage, the weapons you obtain over time lead you to do the exact same swings and outcomes from start to finish. Something amazing about the old games was being able to swap weapons, get an insane amount of different finishers. Instead, here in 2023, we will be hacking and slashing our way through the encounters using the same overall skill sets from start to finish. That is, if you get caught. In the end, stealth was the #1 priority with Mirage, and this is truly the make or break of the entire game. So how does it hold up? Well, it's okay. The main focus of Mirage is stealth, and there are some things to like about it. The tools you are given feel good to use, assassinations are decently animated, but even then, things never stop feeling clunky. It absolutely blows my mind that when I booted up AC Unity, the game felt 10 times smoother instantly. Like, I actually booted it up during my play session, and it's for a variety of different reasons. I can duck and cover, look around corners properly, and do everything I would expect to do as an assassin, but that's just not what happens in Mirage. With that being said, Mirage is by far still best enjoyed in stealth mode. Social stealth makes a massive return to the game, and the environment enables a lot of fun and creative ideas, and the way you approach missions have a decent amount of variety. With that being said, I can't help but simply feel that the core mechanics of the game are missing. This game has the ideas correct and had the objective correct, but it's sadly thrown away by the new engine that Ubisoft created back with Origins into Odyssey and Valhalla. You just don't feel at home. You feel the RPG style engine, and you are forced to play with it through the entire game. Clunky controls, animations, and mechanics are a massive burden to this vision of the game. There are some refinements though. Parkour is a bit better and has some grounded roots from the original game. We don't get the beautiful styling from Unity, but when it works, it does work well. Not to mention, they did make an effort to speed up the overall parkour and its animation. The key point here though is when. This thing can still be remarkably clunky, oftentimes having Basim go in different directions completely. Now, this is actually a root issue in the entire Assassin's Creed franchise, but again, when we've had parkour that felt better than this in the past, it's just so jarring that Ubisoft can't re-find its footing and make a more polished parkour system. It massively breaks immersion when you completely lose control of your very own character. What does save parkour though is the beautiful environment, and that enables parkour instead of hiding it. Vast landscapes from Odyssey, Valhalla, or Origins are beautiful, but they never assisted in allowing you to really use parkour properly. Ubisoft knew this and subsequently never really put the effort into the parkour mechanics. And while they are far from perfect, I can still see the changes and polishes that are done to help Basim traverse Baghdad like an assassin should. Speaking of Baghdad, I must say the world and exploration of Assassin's Creed Mirage is absolutely amazing. I dare say my favorite world to date when it comes to an Assassin's Creed game. I must say a massive return in interior areas did make a comeback, the ones like from Unity, and I love it. There's just something special about roping to the top of a roof, parkouring through various heights only to descend into a balcony before rushing your way to the other side and dropping onto the streets. And this is where they remain dense. The streets are filled with NPCs and you can slip away into the crowd just to break out on your own and get into a dark alleyway. The city and map are amazing. Seriously, they are amazing structurally and visually. It's a playground that brings out all the joys of Mirage, and I dare say it single-handedly carries the entire game. It's the biggest reason to play Mirage and the reason I'm personally still playing it. The exploration part is also very solid. The biggest reason is because Mirage is not a bloated cow. The game is simpler and more focused. It's dense, not only in its map, but the way you play it. I was traversing basically the desert between the two cities, and then there was this beautiful monument, okay? It looked amazing and it just begged me to explore it. So I ran over there, boop, 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 and I climbed to the top because it was a vantage point and I synchronized. And like what any assassin would do, I jumped off. And when I did, I fell into the depths of this structure. It was like a mine shaft underneath, and the entire design and styling of it was very, very nice. And by the end of it, I basically got a dagger with the exact same moveset, so kind of meh. Not to mention the fighting to get there was also meh. I mean, I should stop complaining, but seriously, Assassin's Creed 2 is 14 years old, and you could do some cooler stuff than simply assassinate one guard and throw a dagger at the next one. Ubisoft's gameplay design lacks so much creativity and innovation that they truly did take a step backwards, and it remains so noticeable that it plagues this entire quote-unquote review. But another thing to note is the notoriety system in this game. It's a little bit intense, not necessarily bad, but ripping posters and creating bribes is back. However, the consequences are a lot harsher. If you have a high wanted rating, it can be nearly impossible to even walk the streets before someone yells your names and guards come swarming. I don't know if this is something to do in hard mode, but if I have like even 2 bars and I'm walking the streets, they're like, yo, you're the guy from the poster. And then I got the entire Baghdad army on me. I don't know. It's a little intense, but this does double itself in focusing on being an assassin, which, you know, keep your kills hidden, your face off the streets, and yourself in the shadows. The mechanic isn't perfect, but I appreciate the idea of it servicing the world and fantasy. But anyways, while the world is gorgeous, something else in the game does lack, and that's the story. I won't go too in depth with this story, but I don't really believe it's very memorable. It's a similar story. Ubisoft tends to do the same thing over and over again. Assassin this, blah blah order that, Templar style stuff here, artifacts that randomly produce magic, go assassinate this guy because he's a leader. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's gotten old a long time ago, and it really pains me that Ubisoft cannot make a human story with grounded objectives that relate to our main character. I don't like judging games too harshly on storytelling, only because very few ever actually tell something worth remembering. We all know Ezio became iconic, but it was the first experience for many of us when it came to the Pieces of Eden, the Brotherhood, the tropes of the AC universe. And simply put, the universe never feels expanded, and the contained stories that were told never really hold their own weight. And that's just one word I keep using over and over. The game isn't weighted. The weight of the combat is floaty. The weight of the parkour is clunky. The stealth dampers when stiff animations get played. The story is decent, but we'll all forget it after the credits roll. This game was originally intended to be a DLC, and it's saddening to feel that decision throughout my entire playthrough. In many respects, Mirage often shows so many promising moments only to falter somewhere else. It truly is the game that could have been the return to the franchise. Luckily, it is a step in the right direction, and I do hope Ubisoft will split the franchise moving forward. I actually hope Ubisoft creates open world RPGs for those who enjoyed Valhalla. It was a very well-selling game. Hack and slash those boss battles, explore your massive worlds, and live out the RPG fantasy in a rich, dense historical era. Those games are dedicated for that direction, and they do them well even if I don't like them. Then make a brand new engine core, one that is flashy, well put together, and services itself to the original Assassin's Creed in a brand new light. Make combat engaging and stylish like Ghost of Tsushima, bring the intense parkour from Unity back, and re-implement polished versions of stealth. Ground all of that with a real main character, one that has their own realistic, relatable, and conflicting problems. Have them grow over time and tell a story worth remembering. Now, I know this commentary had a lot of negativity into it, but I do gotta make it clear this is the most fun I've had with an Assassin's Creed game in a while. Like, I want to hop back in. I still am enjoying Mirage, and it's a lot better than whatever Valhalla and Odyssey were in my personal opinion. I just didn't like the RPG style of Assassin's Creed, and this is indeed a love letter with a ton of nostalgia to the old players who enjoyed the original Assassin's Creed game. It just doesn't really build enough on top of it, and even lacks a lot of the old fun aspects of previous games. But I do gotta make it clear that this was made by Ubisoft Bordeaux, and they basically begged Ubisoft to allow them to make this a standalone game and just pursued a passion project. And if this is what a sub side of a studio did with a low budget, I'd hope that they could pour a lot more fuel in this fire and someday make a great Assassin's Creed game, one worth taking the world by storm and reigniting the passion of the Ezio days, one that embraces the only goal that should have been set from the start: make the player feel like they started and grew and became a master class assassin. It'll be a huge leap of faith from Ubisoft to take such a direct direction, but nonetheless, a gamer can hope that they one day do.